Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the TV6 Digital Desk live stream. My name is Molly Birch, and I'll be taking you through a recap of today's headlines. This stream runs every night starting at 8/7 Central Time from Sunday to Thursday. You can find us streaming on both Facebook and YouTube, whichever platform you'd prefer. Feel free to comment and ask any questions you have in the chat as you feel like it. I'll do my best to answer your questions as we go and after the stream as well. With all of that business out of the way, let's take a look at our first story for tonight. No one was hurt after reports of a capsized sailboat on Deer Lake in Ishpeming Township this afternoon. Ishpeming Township police say a Marquette man's sailboat flipped when he was caught off guard by a gust of wind. Police say he tried to turn it upright himself, but couldn't, so he called 911 for help. The Marquette County Sheriff's Office sent out a rescue boat, helped the man to safety, and turned the sailboat upright. The Sheriff's Office then pulled the sailboat to shore. And the Michigan State Police says a 33-year-old Chicago man is dead after an ATV crash on Hemlock Trail in Schoolcraft County's Thompson Township. The MSP says an 11-year-old passenger, the man's niece, suffered minor injuries in the crash. Troopers say the call came in a little after 8 on Sunday evening. The MSP says the ATV overturned after the driver lost control, ejecting the driver and passenger. Police say the ATV then rolled over on the driver. Troopers say the man and his passenger were not wearing helmets. And moving on to a health alert, a UP hospital says its birthing center will stay open, contrary to community rumors. The CEO of UP Health System Bell sent a letter to the community today. He says despite the upcoming departure of OBGYN providers, the hospital's birthing center will continue to offer care. That will come through locum tenens providers who are board certified in obstetrics and gynecology. Leckelt says mothers will have a chance to meet these providers before delivery. He adds the hospital is recruiting new providers and that in the last year, UP Health System Bell has added 5 providers and spent around $1.4 million in capital improvements. Leckelt expressed his thanks to the community for supporting the hospital and said more details will follow in the coming months. You can read his full letter online. Go to uppermichigansource.com or the TV6 and Fox UP mobile news app to find that. We plan to speak with the hospital CEO in the coming days and will bring you a follow-up story. And moving on, the DNR Upper Peninsula Pocket Park at the UP State Fairgrounds is open for the summer. Park workers say kids of all ages can take advantage of all the park has to offer. Activities include fishing in a pond stocked with 1,100 bluegill. There's also archery and pellet guns for target practice. Jalen Sims says for a lot of the kids who visit the Pocket Park, it's their first time fishing or catching a fish.
Super important, not only to get out in nature and just get outside, get out the house, but also try out some stuff that you may not have done before. It's always great to learn new skills.
The park is open Wednesday through Sunday from 10 in the morning to 6 at night. It's free to the public. And Lakeview Elementary School students gardened for the annual Marigold Mania today. 5 classes of 4th graders have cared for seeds since spring break. They watched the flowers' life cycles in a greenhouse. The students used shovels and garden rakes to pull weeds and dig holes for their flowers. A Negaunee Beautification Committee organizer says she wants to teach kids about volunteering.
Not to be afraid of it, to welcome it, to see what a little space you can make a big difference. So one little marigold in, multiplied by 30 here makes a big difference.
The flower project ended today with the planting. And developing now, it's been nearly 2 months since a snowstorm knocked out power for more than a quarter of Menominee County, as well as thousands of others living in counties nearby. Tonight, crews are still assessing damage left behind. Emergency crews say heavy snow and strong winds knocked the county's power grid. The storm snapped miles of power poles, leaving more than 15,000 people in the dark for several days. It's a situation that the emergency management coordinator says that led crews to look closer at the power equipment to see how well it will hold up should the area see similar storms in the future.
There was areas where there would be 10, 12 power poles in a row completely snapped off.
Downed power lines and broken limbs due to heavy snow are all familiar to Upper Michigan when it comes to late winter storms. But even the expected can become overwhelming given the right conditions.
We haven't had a storm with that widespread of effect probably 10 years or better, you know. Probably the first time we lost it for such a duration that I've ever dealt with or seen.
Over 10,000 customers still without power in Menominee.
Beginning on the night of April 2nd, a late season storm crept its way across the southern counties from Wisconsin with wet snow and high winds. Menominee County Emergency Management Coordinator Tom Phillips prepares for these kinds of events, but says keeping up with this particular storm was a challenge.
When it hit, it was a very rapid transition from heavy rains, the heavy wet snow. Just the whole mixture caused a very massive amount of damage to our electrical infrastructure. We had a lot of poles snapped off, a lot of trees on lines, taking lines down.
Substation damage spiderwebbed elsewhere throughout the county, causing a strain on resources and delaying response times. A factor in focus on the week of the storm by WPPI Energy Senior Services Manager Brett Nemi.
The infrastructure in the area really took a big hit. Not only did Elgin Delta's lines get damaged during the storm, but infrastructure that delivers power to our substations also got damaged.
The outage durations changed depending on where you were in the county. In Stevenson, some lost power for 10 hours or more. Just south in Menominee, nearly a quarter of residents were without power, many of whom were in the dark for several days. Some of the longtime residents that I spoke with here in Menominee County say aside from a maybe 8 to 10 hour long outage in the past, this was some of the longest time that they've had without power, some 2 to 3 days, and at one point more than 10, even 11,000 residents without electricity. And according to the emergency management coordinator, some of the damage still remains. So according to him, while they're still estimating the sheer cost of that amount of damage that was done, there's no knowing the extent just yet. But according to WEC Energy Group Senior Communications Specialist Amy Johns, that 11,000 residents without power grew to more than 15,000 in a matter of hours. That led WEC to check the county's infrastructure. They wanted to know how long had it been since those damaged poles and substations were maintained. Johns says crews did so routinely. Since 2021, more than 7 miles of overhead lines have been entirely replaced in areas critical to the power grid. 20 more miles will be replaced between now and 2026. In 2023, 2,400 poles were inspected in Menominee County, and in the 3 months leading up to the 2024 storm, 2,600 more poles were on the ongoing schedule for inspection.
Stuff is very well maintained, very well, watched, and it's very rare that we have outages, and it takes an awful intense storm to cause.
Thank you, Cody. Now, Phillips says the response to such a significant severe weather event involves significant collaboration between agencies, including the National Weather Service. Tomorrow, we take a look at how response was organized between those agencies and what crews are doing to prepare for similar events in the future. Happening now, you can still sign up to race or volunteer for the 11th annual Iron Range Roll in Marquette County. Organizers say volunteers are still needed for course setup, road crossings, and finish line support. Instead of the normal 16 miles, this year it's a 12-mile race, traveling from the Cliffs Shaft Mine Museum in Ishpeming to Barrel and Beam in Marquette Township. The race chair says it's a good time and it benefits the community.
I think people should volunteer or register because it's a fun race. It's a great race that supports the community. And since the beginning, we've supported youth services in Marquette County, especially related to outdoor activity, which Connect Marquette and the race committee thinks is very important.
The race starts at 1 in the afternoon on Saturday at the Cliffs Shaft Mine Museum. You can view volunteer opportunities and register to compete on the Iron Range Roll website. Race registration ends Thursday.
Check.
And finally tonight on the TV6 Digital Desk live stream, Superior Arts Youth Theater is looking for child actors for an upcoming musical. Registration for Say Theater Summer programs and art camps are now open. That includes new camp sessions in Negaunee and Ishpeming and auditions for its upcoming production of Junie B. Jones the Musical Junior. Kids from 4 to 18 can audition this upcoming Sunday and Monday. State Theater's executive director says the programs are great ways to introduce children to the arts.
A great reason to sign up for this is it's that entry-level experience for arts. Kids that are interested in creative things or expressing themselves or looking for new ways to just be a creative kid.
You can sign your child up for programs, camps, or auditions at uppermichigansource.com or the TV6 and Fox UP mobile news app. That's all the stories we have for you tonight. Be sure to tune in right back here on Facebook at 8:45 tomorrow morning. TV6's Mandy Koskela and Michael Sobek will recap top stories from the morning on their show, Beyond Your Morning News. If you have a story idea you think we should report on, feel free to contact us at any time. These are a few easy ways to get a hold of both myself and others in the newsroom. And again, you can contact us at any time. We would love to hear from you and what's happening in your community. Thank you all again for joining me live at the TV6 Digital Desk. Have a great rest of your night.